daily stock market crash. And today we are going to travel towards the oil crisis of 1973. The oil crisis of 1973 constitutes a defining moment in modern economic history, profoundly reshaping global energy markets, geopolitical relations, and economic policies. The crisis, which had its origins in a series of geopolitical events in the Middle East, particularly in the Arab-Israeli conflict in October 1973, reverberated around the world, exposing the vulnerabilities of the global energy infrastructure and causing widespread economic disruption. Through this journey, we will examine a bit of the historical context, main situation that triggers the crisis, consequences and implications of this event, analyzing its impact on energy policies, economic growth, and international relations. By delving into the complex interplay of geopolitical tensions, energy dependence, and economic interdependence, we can gain valuable insights into the dynamics of global energy security and the enduring legacy of the oil crisis on energy debates and strategies.
The oil crisis can be understood by separating it into periods. So first we have to go back to 1973, where the post-World War II period was happening. Since that moment, it existed the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries, or OPEC by its acronym, which main purpose was and still is to coordinate and unify the petroleum policies of the countries that conform the organization. It is conformed by a diversity of countries, but the main characters of this event are the Arab ones, who decided to increase the price of the oil they exported to United States, Japan, and Western Europe 4 times its original price, in support of Israel during the Yom Kippur War, in which also intervened Egypt and Syria. With a global capitalist economy already experiencing difficulties, this action precipitated a steep recession accompanied by rising inflation, and in consequence, it forced the capitalist countries to embark on a process of economic restructuring in order to reduce their dependency on oil, generating fears that the United States might take military action with the objective to secure free access to its energy supplies. Although the crisis was lifted in 1974, oil prices remained high, and the capitalist world continued stagnant throughout the 1970s.
In the late 1970s, the world was rocked by a series of events that would come to be known as the oil crisis of 1979. This crisis will have far-reaching consequences for global politics, economics, and society as a whole. To understand the oil crisis of 1979, we must first examine the historical context in which it occurred. In the aftermath of Second World War, the Middle East emerged as a crucial player in the global oil market. With vast reserves of petroleum, countries like Saudi Arabia, Iran, and Iraq became major exporters, wielding significant influence over the world economy. However, tension simmered beneath the surface as these oil-producing nations sought to assert their sovereignty and control over their natural resources. In 1973, this tension erupted into the Arab-Israel War, leading to a significant disruption in the global oil supply. The aftermath of the war saw the Organization of Arab Petroleum Exporting Countries implementing an oil embargo against countries that supported Israel, sending shockwaves through the global economies. Prices skyrocketed and consumers faced long lines at gas stations.
We stand before you to shed light on a pivotal moment in history that shaped the global energy landscape, which is the oil crisis of 1970s. At the heart of this crisis was the oil embargo implemented by the Organization of Arab Petroleum Exporting Countries in response to the Yom Kippur War, a conflict that erupted on October 6 in 1973 between Israel and a coalition of Arab states led by Egypt and Syria. The oil embargo, a calculated economic and political strategy, had three key elements that reverberated across the globe. Firstly, dominated by Arab nations, OPEC decided to slash oil production and export to countries perceived as supporting Israel during the Yom Kippur War. This deliberate reduction aimed to exert economic pressure and serve as a protest against their policies in the Middle East. Secondly, in addition to curbing oil supply, OPEC raised oil prices significantly. This move led to a sudden spike in global oil prices, contributing to economic hardships in the targeted countries including the United States, Canada, Japan, the Netherlands, and the United Kingdom.
The consequences of the oil embargo were profound, resulting in widespread economic disruptions and energy crises. The sudden and dramatic increase in oil prices prompted a revolution of energy policies worldwide, marking a turning point in global energy dynamics. Nations faced the challenges posed by their dependence on foreign oil and recognized the urgent need for energy security and alternative sources. In the aftermath of the crisis, we witnessed a shift in energy policies. Countries began to explore alternative energy sources such as nuclear power and renewables, alongside implementing conservation measures. The oil crisis of the 1970s too served a catalyst for change, prompting a collective recognition of the importance of diversifying energy sources. Thirdly, the oil embargo underscored the geopolitical influence wielded by oil-producing nations, particularly those in the Middle East. It demonstrated how these nations could leverage their oil resources to shape global economic dynamics, revealing the vulnerability of countries heavily dependent on imported oil.
The consequences of crisis were inflation and economic recession. The crisis caused increases in the price of oil. Inflation led to economic recessions, primarily affecting oil-dependent countries. Shift in geopolitical relations. The crisis affected the relationship between oil-producing and oil-consuming countries. Redefinition of energy policies. Alternative energy sources were considered and the development of renewable energy sources was promoted. Changes in economic policies. Many countries developed the policies to reduce their dependence of imported oil.
Finally, the oil crisis of 1973 marked a pivotal moment in global economic history, profoundly impacting energy policies, geopolitical dynamics, and economic stability. Triggered by a series of events including the Arab oil embargo and the OPEC oil price increases, the crisis exposed vulnerabilities in the world's dependence on fossil fuels and highlighted the risk of geopolitical instability in energy markets. The subsequent economic recession, stagflation, and widespread energy shortage underscored the interconnectedness of global economies and the need for diversified energy sources, energy conservation measures, and strategic energy planning to mitigate future risk. While the immediate effects of the crisis eventually subside, its legacy continues to influence energy policies, international relations, and efforts to transition towards more sustainable and resilient energy systems in the face of ongoing challenges such as climate change and energy security. So, we can ask ourselves, how was the oil crisis of 1973 shaped our current energy policies and perceptions of energy security, and what lessons can be learned from this historical event to inform future energy strategies and investments? This was the only stock market crash.